Long before humanity became a name the galaxy feared, Earth was quiet. Cities still slept at night. Children still ran late for school. People argued about small things, jobs, money, weather, traffic. Humans worried about tomorrow, not about extinction. They did not know the sky was already watching them. The first sign came as a strange light above the oceans. Satellites failed. Radios went contact. Scientists said it was a solar issue. Governments told people to stay calm. Then the ships appeared. They were black, endless, cold. They covered the sky like a moving shadow. People looked up from streets, farms, and rooftops. Some screamed. Some prayed. Most just stood there frozen, unable to understand what they were seeing. The void swarm had arrived. No warning was given. No message was sent. The first cities vanished in minutes. Buildings fell like sand. Defense systems failed before they could lock on. Missiles exploded before leaving the ground. Humanity's best weapons looked like toys against the alien fleet. Soldiers fought bravely, but bravery was not enough. Entire armies disappeared. Communication lines broke. Leaders argued while the world burned. In underground shelters, families held each other in the dark. Parents lied to children, saying help was coming, that everything would be okay. But the truth was simple. Earth was losing. Humanity sent a message into deep space. Not a demand, not a threat, a plea. It was short and desperate. This is Earth. We are under attack. We are not a threat. We ask for help. The signal was sent again and again, growing weaker each time. Days passed. No answer came. The void swarm moved closer to the final population centers. Scientists calculated the end. Military commanders prepared last stands. Some leaders recorded final messages, knowing no one might hear them. Humanity was about to become a forgotten world. Then something changed. On the edge of the solar system, space bent, not exploded, not ripped apart. It bent, like reality itself made room. Massive ships emerged, bright, armored, alive with power. They moved with calm purpose, not rush, not panic. The void swarm reacted too late. These new ships cut through them like fire through paper. Energy weapons tore swarm vessels apart in clean, precise strikes. Human radar systems could barely track the speed of the battle. Within hours, the sky that had been dark became clear again. People came out of shelters. They stared upward in disbelief. Some cried. Some laughed. Some fell to their knees. Earth had not saved itself. Someone else had. The ships bore no human symbols, no known language. Their design was sharp and heavy, built for war, not beauty. They were the Aurelian Guard. The Aurelians were tall beings covered in natural armor that looked like living metal. Their eyes glowed faintly, not with emotion, but awareness. They did not celebrate the victory. They did not ask for thanks. They fought with discipline, taking losses without hesitation. Human military channels finally received a signal. It was calm, clear, direct. Earth threat neutralized. Defensive action complete. That was all. Human leaders tried to respond, to ask who they were, to thank them, to offer something in return. The Aurelians did not answer. They stayed only long enough to finish the job. When the last void swarm ship was destroyed, the Guard gathered their damaged vessels. Some ships were missing. Some were burning. Many never returned from the battle. Human observers noticed something strange. The Aurelians had taken the worst hits. They had placed themselves between Earth and the swarm. Every time, they had not fought with humans. They had fought for them. Then, without ceremony, the Guard left. No speeches, no treaties, no demands, just silence. Earth was saved. But the cost had not been small. Later, human astronomers found wreckage drifting near the moon. Aurelian wreckage. Ships too damaged to escape. Warriors who never made it home. Recovery teams worked quietly. Inside one broken vessel, a human officer found a symbol carved into the wall. It was not a warning, not a threat. It was a promise. No one understood it at the time. Life on Earth slowly returned to normal. Cities were rebuilt. New defenses were planned. Humanity entered the galactic stage with caution and fear, but something had changed inside them. Children learned about the invasion in school. They learned one name clearly: Aurelian Guard. People remembered who stood in front of Earth when no one else did. Memorials were built, not just for humans, but for alien warriors who died defending a world that was not their own. Scientists studied the battle recordings. Engineers analyzed the Aurelian technology, not to copy it, but to understand what real sacrifice looked like. Humanity made a quiet decision. They would never again be helpless. They would never again beg. They would never forget a debt. Across decades, humanity changed. They trained harder, built smarter, united faster. But they did not grow cruel. They grew determined. In hidden archives, a list was kept. Every Aurelian ship lost, every signal intercepted, every warrior recorded. The list was called the Promise. And while the galaxy forgot Earth, Earth remembered everything. Decades passed since the Aurelian Guard saved Earth. Humanity rebuilt, grew, and learned to look beyond their little blue planet. Cities grew taller. Ships grew faster. People still worried about small things, work, school, love, but now they also worried about the stars. Humans looked up with curiosity, not fear. They remembered the debt they owed the silent warriors who had stood between Earth and death. Every generation told the story, how the Aurelian Guard had given everything to save a weak species that had not yet earned the galaxy's respect. But as humanity watched the stars, another truth became clear. The galaxy had changed. The dominion of Ash rose quietly. It was not loud or flashy like the Void Swarm. It was slow, clever, calculating. Planet after planet fell under its control. Entire civilizations disappeared before anyone noticed. The Dominion built its empire like a shadow creeping across the galaxy, unnoticed until it was too late. And the Aurelians, the great guardians who had once stood in front of Earth, they were losing. Reports came in waves, colonies burning, fleets shattered, communications lost. The Aurelian homeworld sent distress signals into space, begging for aid. Their enemies were stronger than anything the galaxy had ever faced. They were not asking for Earth's help. They were asking the galaxy itself for help. But the galaxy was silent. The Galactic Council met in their tall chambers, filled with shimmering light and floating holograms. Their faces were calm, detached. The Aurelians had saved countless worlds once, yes, but now their fleets were broken, their colonies gone. The council weighed their options like accountants. They are no longer essential, one voice said. Resources must be allocated wisely. Another agreed, let them fall. Let us not waste more on a dying species. Earth watched from the edges of known space, hidden but listening. Scientists, diplomats, and military leaders gathered secretly. They watched the signals from the Aurelian world, watched the councils in action, and felt something stir inside them. Something humans had never felt before, anger mixed with purpose. For the first time, humanity understood what it meant to owe a debt that could not be forgotten. It started quietly. Ships were built in secret. Engineers worked day and night, designing weapons no one had ever seen. Soldiers trained like the entire fate of the galaxy depended on them, because it did. Every human knew that when the time came, they could no longer hide behind fear or hope. They would act. Meanwhile, the Aurelian homeworld burned. Massive explosions shook cities and fleets alike. Ships fell from the sky like dying stars. Their great crystal towers cracked. The few surviving Aurelians who escaped were now refugees on the run, a shadow of the proud warriors who had saved Earth long ago. And still, the council did nothing. Humanity waited, patiently, quietly. They were not reckless. They did not rush. They had learned from watching the Aurelian sacrifice. They had learned to prepare. In a hidden command center on the outskirts of the solar system, General Kara Lin looked at the incoming distress signals from the Aurelians. Her eyes were steady. Her voice was calm. They will fall if we do nothing, she said. But we won't. Humanity does not forget. The room was silent for a moment. Then she pressed a button. Ships across Earth's orbit powered up. Engines hummed. Weapons unlocked. Systems checked. Each step was precise, rehearsed for years. The humans were ready. When the first human fleet emerged from hyperspace, the Dominion forces thought it was another alien faction joining the war. They were wrong. The ships were not massive like the Aurelians. They were not adorned with strange symbols or glowing armor. They were human, sleek, functional, built for speed and precision. And they carried weapons the galaxy had never seen. Weapons designed to destroy without unnecessary chaos. The humans did not speak to the Dominion. They did not negotiate. They moved with one purpose, to save the Guardians who had once saved them. Battle erupted across the stars. The Dominion of Ash attacked with everything they had. Human ships danced through the fire, dodging and striking with uncanny precision. Every move seemed impossible, but it worked. Every attack from the Dominion was met with counterattacks, clever traps, and unstoppable force. Human pilots were calm, almost casual. They moved with the confidence of people who had waited decades for this moment. They were not angry. They were not seeking revenge. They were fulfilling a promise. Inside the battle, Aurelians watched in disbelief. Ships they thought lost forever were now being defended by humans, small, fragile creatures who somehow wielded the power and strategy of 1,000 fleets. They had expected aid from the galaxy. They had expected others to care. Instead, help came from the species they had saved. Every human ship that survived was another life given back to the Aurelians. Every strike against the Dominion was another proof humans remember. Humans repay debts. Humans never forget. In the Galactic Council chambers, alarms blared. Holograms showed the Dominion retreating, fleets shattered, colonies saved. The Council watched helplessly as the humans, once the weak species everyone mocked, turned the tide of war. They are doing what we refused. a council member whispered. And on Earth, people watched the news feed with silent pride. Children who had never seen war stared in awe. Teachers paused lessons. Families huddled around screens. The humans who had once run and hidden, begged and prayed, were now the galaxy's saviors. For the Aurelians, the relief was mixed with shame. They had been abandoned, left to die by the very galaxy that once celebrated them. But now, humans showed them a lesson the universe would never forget. Loyalty is stronger than power. Sacrifice is remembered, and even the weakest can become the strongest when they honor a promise. By the end of the battle, the Dominion had been pushed back. The surviving Aurelian fleets regrouped, wounded but alive. The Council had no choice but to acknowledge humanity. But humanity did not ask for praise. They did not demand titles. They did not boast. They only left a message. You saved us when we were weak. We will save you now. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not abandon those who protect us. And then, silently, they disappeared from the Council's view, leaving the Aurelians alive, their homeworld still burning but now with hope. On Earth, General Carolyn looked at the stars. Her face was calm, but her mind raced. We have started something the galaxy cannot ignore, she said. A debt is repaid. A promise is kept. But this is only the beginning. The humans had acted. They had rewritten fate. And for the first time in the galaxy's history, everyone, including the strongest warriors, understood one truth: humanity's resolve is unbreakable. The stars had just learned that the species they once dismissed would never be forgotten and would never forgive. The stars burned red above the Aurelian homeworld. Smoke rose into space, and distant planets trembled under the dominion of Ash's power. The Aurelians had fought with everything they had, but now it was clear without help their civilization would end. And yet they were not alone. From the edges of hyperspace, fleets of human ships appeared like a rising tide. Not a few, not hundreds, but thousands. Ships of every size, armed with strange, brilliant weapons. Ships that moved with the precision of a single mind. Humanity had waited. They had prepared. And now, they had come. The Dominion forces laughed at first. They are only humans, their leaders sneered. A weak, primitive species. They cannot stop us. But the humans did not argue. They did not speak. They moved with a calm that chilled every Dominion soldier who saw them. The first strike was sudden and devastating. Energy beams tore through Dominion cruisers like paper. Missiles exploded before leaving their launch tubes. Every move the humans made seemed impossible, precise, and unstoppable. Inside the battle, Aurelians stared from their damaged ships. Their eyes, glowing faintly with worry and pain, could hardly believe what they saw. These humans, the same species they had once protected, were now the protectors. They were fighting not for conquest, not for glory, but for loyalty. Captain Wren of the Aurelian fleet whispered into the comms. They fight like us, like warriors who have seen sacrifice and pain. The Dominion's confidence crumbled as their fleets were pushed back. Every attempt to strike Earth's rescuers failed. Every trap they set was anticipated. Humans moved like shadows across the battlefield, silent, unstoppable, and relentless. For humanity, this was not war. It was justice. It was repayment. Every weapon fired, every maneuver executed was a promise fulfilled. For decades, they had remembered the names of every Aurelian ship, every fallen warrior. Now, they honored them with action. In the heart of the Dominion fleet, Admiral Kale screamed orders, but nothing worked. The humans were always one step ahead, like they knew every move before it happened. Ships exploded, command centers were destroyed, and Dominion soldiers began to retreat in panic. Meanwhile, human commanders coordinated like a single organism. Their language was simple, their orders clear. Focus on the leaders. Protect the Aurelians. Push them back. Every pilot understood immediately. Every soldier executed flawlessly. The Aurelians, once silent protectors, now fought alongside humans. Their wounded ships repaired in real time. Their warriors regained hope. They had once saved Earth when it was weak. Now, humans saved them when they were desperate. The battle reached its peak over the Aurelian capital. The Dominion flagship, massive and terrifying, loomed over the planet. Its weapons fired relentlessly. Cities that had survived decades of war were falling again. Then, from the human fleet, came the Falcon Strike, a formation of human cruisers carrying weapons never seen before. They fired simultaneously. The flagship shook. Its shields failed. Dominion officers screamed as their command systems collapsed. Humanity had turned the tide in a single, coordinated strike. The Dominion retreated, shattered and humiliated. Their empire, which had seemed unstoppable, was broken. They fled into the shadows of the galaxy, leaving the Aurelians alive. Their homeworld scorched but not defeated. In the aftermath, silence filled space. Humans did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They simply hovered, watching, waiting, ensuring the Aurelians were safe. The Aurelian leader, High Commander Veyran, finally spoke. His voice echoed across the fleet, trembling but filled with awe. "Yo humans, you have done what no one else would. You saved us. You fought with honor. You repaid a debt we never expected to see returned." General Kara Lin, standing on the bridge of the flagship Liberty, looked at him calmly. "You saved Earth when we were weak. That is enough reason to act. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not abandon its defenders." The Aurelians did not argue. They did not question. They had seen the truth. Humans had changed the rules of the galaxy. Word spread across the stars quickly. Planets that had once ignored humanity now watched with fear and respect. If humans would intervene for loyalty, no empire could ignore them. If humans would rise for promises kept, no race could underestimate them. Back on Earth, people watched the battle from their screens. Children cheered. Families hugged. Teachers paused lessons. Humanity had finally shown its true face, not weak, not small, but unyielding and honorable. Months later, the Aurelian homeworld began to rebuild. Humans helped, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as allies. Together they repaired cities, fleets, and communication networks. The bond between the species became stronger than any treaty. It was built on trust, loyalty, and shared sacrifice. High Commander Veyran addressed the human fleet one last time. His voice was firm, proud, and respectful. "Humans, you have rewritten history. You have shown the galaxy that your kind is not to be underestimated. You honor the debt of those who fought for life. The Aurelian Guard will never forget this. You are not just allies. You are family." General Kara Lin responded simply, "We only did what was right, and we will continue to do so as long as it is needed. Humanity never forgets. Humanity never abandons those who stand for what is good." The stars were calm once more. The dominion of Ash was broken. The Aurelians were alive. Humanity had rewritten fate, but the galaxy had learned a new rule. If humans call you ally, your fate is no longer written by fear. It is written by human resolve. And somewhere, in the quiet corners of the universe, every species that had ever doubted humanity began to think twice. Because humanity had shown something no one else had. They could rise from weakness. They could repay a debt decades in the making, and they would never, ever forget. The stars belonged to no one, but now, every warrior in the galaxy knew humanity had its own place among them, not because of power, not because of technology, but because of heart, loyalty, and unbreakable resolve. The promise had been kept, the fate of the Aurelians rewritten. Humanity had arrived, not as a weak planet in need of protection, but as a force the galaxy would never ignore again.